Hi everybody, I'm Rolling Crows. Thank you so much for watching this video. I don't have any sort of script that I've written, so everything I'm about to say is basically just my true, unfiltered, raw thoughts. And in this video, I'd like to highlight my experiences as a child who was put on Abilify. And for those who don't know what Abilify is, its scientific name is aripiprazole, and it is a antipsychotic drug. And it's commonly prescribed to those with schizophrenia to suppress their hallucinations and their bodily movements. And it's also commonly prescribed more off-label to patients with Tourette syndrome, as well as generalized anxiety disorder. And in recent years, they have launched findings that, probably shouldn't be prescribed to young children. And I speak from experience saying this as someone who was prescribed Abilify as a young child, that no child, not even if they're young, no child under 18 should be prescribed this medication. And I try not to get too pissed off about things that are in the past and that I have no control over. But here's the thing. I beg of you, if you are considering putting your child on any form of medication that changes the brain chemistry, please just listen to my words and also do your own research. These medications that are so FDA approved, etc. FDA approves anything that comes their way. Look at these petroleum-based food dyes. So just because there's approval from some higher up, that doesn't mean you should be putting these chemicals in your body, because let me tell you what it was like. I was 7 years old, and all the color was just drained from my life. And why did they put me on Abilify? Abilify is an antipsychotic. Reduces unwanted movements, uncontrollable movements, and it also just completely suppressed my entire brain. When I was taking it, I could sit still in class, finally. They put me on it because I could not sit still. I would get up and I would walk around in class, and you can't do that in class. So suddenly I'm in class on Abilify, and I'm just drooling. And I'm looking at the wall, and my teacher's pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. And I'm just it felt like my face was plastic. It felt like every inch of my skin just didn't exist. It was just numb. So it was suppressing my sensation, and not only did it affect all my sensations and my focus, because I had difficulty focusing before, but now it's I was so tired and I couldn't focus, and I would be staring at the board, just completely zoned out, just inside my head. And I just can't believe that they prescribe this to anyone, even with schizophrenia, because it just makes you feel numb. It makes you feel like you don't even exist. And I was 7 through 13, and I was on this drug, and I told my psychologist, I told my mom, my dad, my teachers, anyone who would listen, how much I hated this, how much I didn't want to be on it. Well, sucks for you. You're not an adult. You just have to do what you're told. I had no control over this. This drug also negatively impacted me in a social setting as well. I had social difficulties before, integrating with my peers. But when you feel you're just a brain, you're just eyes looking, seriously, it negatively impacted the way I interacted with others. And I could feel it. I could feel like I couldn't even form a sentence on this drug. And so even though it was reducing some symptoms, it was causing me to have even more symptoms, such as reduced social ability. What do these drugs really do at the end of the day? They don't teach kids to naturally solve their problems. And for example, ADHD medications. So a kid is having trouble sitting still and focusing, and so they prescribe that kid Adderall. Well, this kid is never going to be able to naturally focus and sit still without Adderall now. So it never, like, just prescribing medications to children don't actually teach them how to naturally cure these own problems that they're having. And it's only a problem when you say it's a problem, because these so-called problems are actually advantages in some fields, for example, music, art. Some of these, like, so-called problems actually are helpful, and I don't know why we're calling them problems. It's only a problem when you say it is, and who's coming up with this? Who is the one saying that these are problems when in fact they're actually evolutionary adaptations? People aren't actually being taught how to naturally focus. They're only being forced addictions. They're only being prescribed things that will correct their current behavior, and which doesn't actually teach them to naturally either reduce the behavior or use that behavior conducively in order to power them through and succeed in life. All you're doing is giving people's addictions, feeding people's addictions, getting them hooked, so they have a consumer for life. And to speak on that, consumerism, we were taught to be good consumers in school. That's what we learned in second grade, was what are wants and needs. Apparently getting McDonald's was a need. It's something that I really kind of blame, the healthcare system for like kind of using me as a guinea pig in their sick experiment. And you shouldn't be putting kids on medications to begin with. And there's so many side effects to any sort of drug. Like, I went from this very, like, energetic and just creative kid to just like a brain inside a body that I couldn't even feel. And like I said, the color was just drained from my life. And I remember when they took me off of it, that I could suddenly see the green again. Like, I could just, it just, like, completely took away all that life is, like, the things we kind of take for granted every day, like the color of the world and the sounds that we hear. It just took that away from me. And I don't know how much it took away from me. I really can't speak to that. I mean, I wish I wasn't put on it. I don't know what I would be like if I hadn't been on it. During my developmental years as a child and adolescent, all I can say is that I hated it. And I don't think any kid should be put on medication just so they can sit still in class. And a lot of kids are prescribed a cocktail of medication. So yeah, if their focus is affected by taking a drug like Abilify, well, then they'll add like a stimulant onto it. I knew a lot of kids in my special education school who were just on like a list of medications. And it started with one. Like, they had side effects from just one medication, so they prescribed 2 more to reduce those side effects. And then those medications cause side effects, so they have to prescribe 2 more to combat those side effects. And then, now there's some sort of interaction between these 2 drugs. So what do? You prescribe another medication to suppress that reaction that those 2 drugs are having. And I'm just appalled. Seriously, like, These are children. We can have another discussion about adults on medication, because I still have problems with anyone on these big pharma drugs, which are, bottom line, it's for profit. Like psychologists and neurologists, they're being paid to prescribe these drugs. I went to a neurologist to seek a natural alternative, and she didn't prescribe it to me because she's like, we only do pharmaceutical drugs. So yes, there's natural remedies, but here we're only prescribing big pharma. And why? Because they pay this clinic. They pay this clinic hundreds of thousands of dollars to prescribe their medications. And these medications are just literally allowing us to be manipulated by even more industries. Because when you're in this state on Abilify, it's like you're at the perfect state for other companies to try to get you. And I mean, I don't want to make this video too long, but there's a lot of side effects, like I said, that are associated with any drug. With Abilify, for me, it was definitely just loss of focus, loss of sensation. Every thought, I couldn't think clearly, It's like, I was, like I said, just a brain inside a body, and I gained, a lot of weight, too. And, it just, it just felt awful. And I just can't believe, you'd prescribe that to a child, and how our special education system encourages these medications. If a kid who has special needs and learning disabilities is struggling, why are you prescribing them chemicals? And then also on top of that, feeding them just garbage food, which increases bad behavior, and then prescribing more chemicals to reduce that bad behavior. I've said it before, it's like Meducation. It's like, oh, you're having problems? Here's some toxic food loaded with chemicals. And since you've been on good behavior. And then you have bad behavior, and they're like, oh, why is this kid having more bad behavior? Not actually looking at root problems of things. It's just like you're only looking at their behavior, and you're only examining the now, and you just completely don't even take into account their history, their trauma, what's going on at home, which is huge. I mean, I'm lucky. I wasn't ever taken advantage of as a child, but I knew some peers of mine at school who looked like they may have been, and it was a shame it didn't seem like all that was being taken into account for, I mean, I was a kid then, and I had no control over anything that was going on, but if you're just looking at behavior in the present, you're not examining the stuff that's going on at home to cause this behavior, Technology and overstimulation from screens, also just cause a host of behavioral problems, which, yeah, we now know are real issues, but before, 10 years ago, there still wasn't a scientific consensus on this, so I just knew a lot of kids who were having these behavioral issues due to simply overstimulation due to their iPads. And they just didn't even take into account that their whole entire lives at home was exclusively screens. There's natural alternatives include exercise, regular exercise. And you know what the school did? They just reduced recess. They completely took it away from middle schoolers. And who does this benefit? Big pharma. And so it was eye-opening for me to be in an environment where we were all kind of subjected to the same malpractices that the healthcare system currently enforces, essentially, which is just the chemicals, It's it's all about these drugs. It's all about how many can we prescribe to a kid who has no control over it. So like, even if they want to stop, oh, they can't, because they have no control over it. And teachers, even educators, administrators, healthcare professionals, parents, teachers, we're all being lied to. We're all being lied to. The science points to natural remedies being the best solutions for a lot of problems that kids experience, because let's keep in mind that kids aren't at that stage in life where more advanced mental illnesses start to develop, such as bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. And yet, I feel like healthcare professionals are so quick to slap these labels on children who are just children. If a kid has an imaginary friend, like, is that kid schizophrenic? Why do we have to put all these, like, labels onto kids? And I remember being diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder as a child, and I was like, this is, like, the end of the world. Like, this is, like, such a big thing. Generalized anxiety disorder? Why do you have to even call it that to a kid? Seriously, like, I mean, we're not computers. We don't need diagnoses for everything. That's where the term diagnosis actually originated from, was from, like, I believe it was, like, the 1950s era. We didn't have a word for it back then, but if a computer was having a problem, such as a bug, a malfunction in the code, because computers can't catch bugs like colds and bacteria and all that. So they had to kind of come up with terms that humans could understand. So if there was a malfunction in the code, they'd call that a bug. And they diagnose these malfunctions. They had to invent terms for it so we could better describe what we were doing as technicians back in the day. And then we just, like, the healthcare system kind of took over those terms a little bit. And okay, so no longer are we diagnosing computers with problems, which are pieces of machine, but now we're diagnosing humans with problems, which are not machines, obviously. We're complex systems made of interacting factors. We've got nature and nurture. It's like environmental versus genetic factors. And the healthcare system completely disregards the environmental factors that cause a lot of these problems, such as noise pollution, air pollution, food pollution, and I'm talking chemicals, bad food that cause problems. It seems like they're even more eager to give us bad, poison food in order to increase these problems so they can prescribe us more and diagnose us with more and more. Because what does it do at the end of the day? It just increases revenue to the healthcare system and to big pharma. And like I said, I don't want to make this video too long. I believe I've said everything I wanted to say. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. If you'd like to hear more about my experiences in special education or as a victim of our terrible healthcare system, please stay tuned for more videos. And also, please check out my past videos, which I have uploaded, speaking about my experiences in special education. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Like and subscribe if you like this, and please comment your experiences below if you've ever been affected by this terrible mistreatment of children as a child, or if you're currently being affected. I'd love to hear your story. Peace out, everybody. Have a great day, and know that natural alternatives do exist, and what you're experiencing isn't necessarily a problem. Don't take it personally. It's just they're the ones with problems, honestly. If they feel the need to tell you that you're the problem, I'd suggest take an examination of them. Flip the script. Peace out. Have a great day.